My name is Nicholas Leonard, and I am currently a doctoral candidate and visiting lecturer at Northern Illinois University, located in the United States of America. While my dissertation explores how new materialist theory may expand our understanding of creative becomings in high school digital art classrooms, this presentation, titled Exploring Ontology and Epistemology Through Creative Algorithms and Machines for Art Education, will focus on developments regarding emerging artificial intelligence, creative algorithms, and art education pedagogy. It is my hope that by exploring the influence of artificial intelligence within art and art education, it will become clear that reductionist binary understandings are limiting our potential understandings of what is now taking place within digital art making. The daily lived experiences and visual culture of my students include frequently engaging with machine learning algorithms and artificial intelligence. One of the more notable examples of my students interacting with code involves social media platforms, an issue that was well discussed in the Netflix documentary The Social Dilemma. But code goes beyond virtual environments like Facebook and Twitter. Advanced code is now more in commonplace objects, such as coffee machines, creating smart objects that can sense and interact with the world. Virtual assistants like Alexa, Siri, Katana, and Google Assistant are now connecting to devices, turning homes into AI-powered smart homes. Speaking on this point in 2009, Kitchen and Dodge stated that, quote, "It is fair to say that code now conditions existence in the West. Code is routinely embedded into everyday objects, infrastructures, and systems," end quote. Furthermore, trends point to an increasing prevalence of artificial intelligence due to parallel computation becoming cheaper, data growing bigger, and algorithms becoming more complex. So how may artificial intelligence be entering the formal classroom? Early work in education artificial intelligence by Schenk and Eldison in 1989 recognized that AI has shared endeavor with education, specifically the focus on, quote, "getting machines to read, to reason, to express themselves, to make generalizations, and to learn," end quote. They also projected that AI in education would inevitably change the way teaching and learning would be understood and practiced. Similar remarks were made by MacArthur, Lewis, and Bicheri about the implications and significance of AI in education back in 2005, claiming that AI can, quote, "offer new goals and practices for teaching and learning," end quote. With AI now providing task automation and personalized learning, how may these algorithms be influencing art education? In 2020, I published an article titled Entanglement Art Education, Factoring Artificial Intelligence and Non-Humans into Future Art Curricula, with the goal of discussing post-human concepts to address AI technologies as reasonable, approachable, and an urgent issue for digital art educators, since humans are not the only content creators. In forming this argument, I provided examples of artificial intelligence and machine learning used in commonplace digital art classroom programs like Adobe Photoshop and GIMP, along with emerging AI art-making programs which now include Runway ML, Remy AI, Gauguin, Deep Dream Generator, Artbreeder, Wombo.art, and more. Not only are these algorithms changing the process of creating art, their development is also challenging the foundational ontological and epistemological understandings of creativity, authorship, and originality. In the pursuit to develop creative artificial intelligence, computer scientists are actively investigating the concepts of creativity and cognition. This endeavor has produced many conflicting perspectives of cognition, creativity, and how humans relate to machines, as exemplified in Miller's 2009 book titled The Artist in the Machine, The World of AI-Powered Creativity. These questions in the domain of computer science have an entangled and parallel relationship with those in art education, since they seek to identify and support cognitive and creative behaviors. Furthermore, prevailing ontological and epistemological assumptions continue to perpetuate entrenched views about the nature of authorship and creativity in these AI developments. These creativity and authorship debates almost ironically draw attention to the increasingly blurred boundaries between humans and computer relations. provoking a need for scientists, digital artists, and art educators to clarify or reconceptualize their notions of cognition and creativity in order to progress our thinking on the matter. One example of AI comes from Patrick Tressett, the creator of the sketching robots, which are collectively referred to as Paul. These drawing machines used a robotic arm to manipulate a drawing utensil on paper to doodle information received by a camera. As a result, Paul has drawn self-portraits of people willing to participate as a live model. Pushing this concept even further, Patrick has developed Paul to doodle based on activity levels sensed in a room by a camera, so there can be high and low levels of doodling performance. Another perspective of creative machines comes from the French art collective Obvious. Obvious is best known for their generative adversarial network, also known as GAN, created images, titled Edmond de Blemy, which became the first AI artwork to be sold at Christie's art auction for nearly $500,000. This artwork is part of a larger collection called La Famille de Blemy, which is a tribute to Ian Goodfellow, the creator of GAN algorithms. The Painting Fool is an AI program created by Simon Colton that, according to its website, is, quote, an inspirational painter, end quote, which seeks to be, quote, taken seriously one day as a creative artist in my own right, end quote. The goal of The Painting Fool is to explore philosophical questions of non-human emotion and intentionality in art making. For this reason, Simon is critical of algorithms that are fed large amounts of data to create their art, arguing that it is less imaginative thought. Ahmed El-Megal, developer of artificial intelligence creative adversarial networks. The CAN, once again, creative adversarial network, is a version of a GAN, which is an AI to train itself on various historical art styles and movements and adjust parameters of established styles to create novel images. As mentioned in Miller's book, Ahmed believes that machines are not currently creative since they must be able to eventually judge their own work. There are also many user-friendly programs that bring the layperson into the world of AI-created art. This includes Epistemology, a web-based AI platform that creates visuals based on lines of submitted text, such as poems. This web-based text submission to AI formed image approach was also taken by Wombo to make art, as you can see on the right. Other web-based programs like Deep Dream Generator use generative adversarial networks to combine the visual qualities and content of images to produce new visuals. One interesting approach to this form of AI art is MASH NFT. NFT stands for non-fungible tokens, which act in a similar way to cryptocurrency, where a digital authentication process that allows an individual to have documented ownership of a digital item. According to MASH NFT's website, quote, MASH NFT is a generative art platform that allows users to create new NFTs based on ones they already own. The original MASH machine learning algorithm takes in content from one NFT and the style of a second NFT, then mashes them together to create a new output, end quote. Here, AI is specifically being used to create minted NFT artworks, which is becoming an increasing trend in the previously mentioned Wombo, as it has developed its own NFT minting option. To contextualize the significance of this ontological and epistemological issue within the visual arts, I will briefly discuss a recent art-making endeavor involving a GAN algorithm, an artist Mads Heising, and Pokemon. Working with GANs in an approachable platform such as Runway ML, I explore the art-making process to directly challenge reductionist binary understandings of both the art-making process and product. Using hundreds of Pokemon images as a dataset, the Runway ML GAN algorithm produced many visuals of new Pokemon, as seen on the left. I then selected some of these images produced by the GAN and commissioned artist Mads Heising to create an illustration of the new Pokemon designed by the algorithm. Through this project, multiple questions can be raised, such as what is art? is the Pokemon remix by the GAN algorithm creative? And who is the author? All these questions reflect back on parallel ontological and epistemological assumptions that will do little to progress our thinking in the visual arts and art making in a world of algorithms. Instead, previous assumptions must be audited to explore what differences are made in the world and emerge when presented with algorithms to address what the world is becoming. Before I begin discussing new material theorists, it is crucial to acknowledge, as stated by Rosiak, Snyder, and Pratt, that, quote, indigenous thinkers and scholars developed ideas about non-human agency thousands of years earlier than contemporary philosophers of science, end quote. To this point, multiple indigenous scholars, including but not limited to DeLine, Higgins, Lagrange, Martin, Todd, Tuck and Mackenzie, Watts, and others have published comparisons between indigenous scholarship and emerging post-human scholarship. As an emerging scholar myself, it is my desire to continue to further acknowledge these works, and as I explore the non-human contributions and influences within digital art high school creative becomings. Art educators like Sweeney have challenged that digital art educators to investigate the dynamic becomings of art making which, quote, blur the binaries upon which much of the modernist core of art education is based, end quote. Furthermore, Coulter and Mackenzie have questioned if, quote, perhaps the challenge is to treat learning as an ontological rather than an epistemological problem, end quote. To this end, Barad's theory of agental realism provides helpful concepts which merge ontology and epistemology where, quote, neither discursive practices nor material phenomena are ontologically or epistemologically prior, end quote. Barad calls this blurring of being and knowing onto-epistemology. Within a digital art education context, I argue that this implies art educators need to be more attentive to the potentialities that emerge in the classroom. For this reason, Dennis Atkinson's pedagogy of immanence becomes a helpful conceptual tool to bridge Barad's theories inspired from quantum physics into the social sciences. Recognizing that learning takes on a Deleuzian sense of difference, Dennis Atkinson states that, quote, effective learning encounters involve trying to connect with the virtual potential arising from relations with the actual content of the encounter, end quote. Thus, quote, a learning event is a problematic process constituted by a virtual domain of potentialities and a domain of actualizations that produce something new, a new relation, end quote. It is important to note here that there is no new matter produced. Rather, it is a relation between matter, what Karen Barad would refer to as an agental cut. Thinking through these concepts about creative becomings in high school digital art classrooms allows a break from reductionist binary understandings of creativity, authorship, and originality to instead explore the agental cuts which produce novel relations between matter as the foundational understanding for creativity. Such alternative ways of knowing are particularly significant for digital art education pedagogy since it allows new questions to be asked about digital art making which were previously incomprehensible. As this presentation suggests, alternative ways of knowing which challenge dominant ontological and epistemological assumptions in digital art education becomes less concerned with placing creative agency in a particular entity in favor of being sensitive to the entanglements for creative potentialities and future becomings. In conclusion, if art educators want to effectively enhance student learning with new technologies, the new pedagogical understandings should be explored that are sensitive to the increasingly blurring boundaries of students, digital technologies, and artificial intelligence algorithms. If you are interested in further reading on this topic, I have published on some of these ideas in greater length as an open access publication in the Journal of Digital Culture and Education, titled Emerging Artificial Intelligence, Art and Pedagogy, Exploring Discussions of Creative Algorithms and Machines for Art Education, and have made all my presentations available on ResearchGate. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.